Okay, I'll start with Chris Bassnett.
Well, I guess, Will, just, reading through the news release yesterday and you had the quote about comparing to this to some of those, classes from the late 90s, early 2000s, I guess. Did you kind of always think this group would have high expectations when you were kind of putting it together?
Yeah, when I made that comment, I was, not to put too many unnecessary expectations on this group. I think I was kind of referring more to you look at where they're from, kind of the blueprint. And that was something that we were really focused in on when we got here. We got this job. We wanted to have a very defined plan. Now, plans don't always work out, right? You have to have the players, but have to have a very defined plan when it comes to recruiting to fit your particular needs for your program and how you're going to go about it. And, we were very fortunate in our state that we had 9 quality players that we felt like could help us win. And, you add in 5 or 6 other states and then you add in Canada, and you end up getting a lot of the same type of players that I played with, quite frankly, here at Nebraska, guys that come to work every day to get better and, play a certain way and think about their teammates in a certain way. And we felt like we were able to find some really talented players from a lot of the same places that we're going to continue to go to the well for.
Evan?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that 98 comparison too. I'm curious, with that group that you came in with in 98, how quickly could you tell that group was special? And I guess how quickly can you judge any recruiting class as far as when they come in and kind of what they might become?
Yeah, we felt pretty quickly that team had some talent once we all got on the field and started taking BP and watched some of the pitchers throw. And we were all sold on a similar vision, a new coaching staff that was that had some success in some other places that were going to come to Nebraska. And we had a new facility that was going to be built. And, we were all coming really for similar type goals that we wanted to have a chance to really take the program to the next level. And again, very defined group of players too, just not from a talent standpoint, but kind of the makeup, just what made us all tick. We all pushed each other every day. Guys that, we're still great friends today because of the experiences that we did have in college. And it was pretty evident right away. Those guys were all here for the same reasons, and we came from some different areas. But once we got together, we all felt we had a lot in common with how we viewed the game of baseball.
Michael Bruns?
Well, can you kind of speak to? I know you've obviously recruited Nebraska for a long time, the state. I guess where is the depth of talent in the state right now, maybe compared to where it's been, and maybe where do you see it going? I mean, I kind of have a hard time remembering this many guys even guys that went elsewhere still playing D1 ball that had this kind of talent. I mean, where is it kind of where it's been historically when you've kind of been on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, I think you started to see an uptick and a trending in the right direction, really as far as 15 years ago, where, we had it rolling in the mid 2000s, and you started to see more and more high school programs pop up. But, really because of that, interest in the state of Nebraska in baseball just kept getting higher and higher. And, you've kind of seen it through the years. You've seen a lot of the guys that had played on some of these teams or had been, Division I players wanted to give back to the state. So you see a lot of really good youth coaches, a lot of kids that have played together. I mean, that's a common theme with a lot of these kids that we have in this class. A lot of them have played together since they were 8, 9, 10 years old. Makes a big difference. They're pushing each other every day from, really for the last 10 years. And they kind of all had this common goal of being a Division I baseball player, many of them wanting to play at Nebraska. So it's just been a gradual, just kind of seeing it really in the last 15 plus years. It's just continuing to get better and better. The high school coaching, the youth coaching, competition breeds competition, and there's good players all over the state. And, I think it's the needle's pointing up when it comes to that. It's just going to continue to get better and better each year.
Chris Bassnett?
You obviously have an off season to go through now and a season next year, but as a coach, do you find yourself looking ahead at all at what that class might be able to do, or do you just, okay, it's done, I'm back to focusing on this team now, don't worry about those guys when they get here?
Yeah, you don't find me looking too far into the future very often. I mean, I think right now our sole focus is the 2021 Husker team, what our season's going to look like in the spring. We felt like we were able to bring in a really good crop of players this year to fill out this team and to have enough pitching depth to get us through some weekends where we feel like you need to have that Sunday guy to help you win or sweep series, or even if you have a bad first couple of days, you've got to have a quality Sunday pitcher that you can salvage a game. So we worked really hard to get that pitching depth here. I feel like it showed up this fall. I feel like we're excited about where we're at positionally. I'm focused on this year, this team. I couldn't be more excited about this class that's coming in. But right now, our focus is getting these guys that we have currently to put them in the best position to win in the spring.
Evan?
Hey, Will, does it take a certain kind of kid to buy into the vision that you guys are putting out there when, you guys are a new coaching staff here, they haven't maybe seen it manifest on the field yet, and they have to maybe take a little bit of it at faith that they share this vision where things are going? Is that, I guess, a different challenge than if you guys are here for 4, 5, 6 years and you've established yourselves and kind of your style?
Yeah, I think that we're very upfront in the recruiting process when it comes to what we're trying to do, what we're looking for, the type of player that's going to succeed under our coaching staff and our vision, like you spoke to. So again, and that's how we coach too. I mean, we're pretty much no nonsense. We lay it out pretty clearly in the recruiting process. Is you're going to work as hard as you ever worked in your life. The harder you work, the luckier you get at times. The game's going to pay you back. All those things. So we use that through the process to honestly vet out, the type of player that we want. We feel like we've got a pretty good idea. If we bring a guy on campus, or if we're going so far as to offer a kid, in our mind, we've done our homework up to that point, but we want to make sure. And when we go through that process, we're very upfront with them that things are going to be done a certain way. We like to have fun. Winning is a lot of fun. But it's going to be a lot of hard work too. And you get a bunch of hardworking, talented players, then you got something. So that's really the vision that we have, is we're going to go where the talent is. We're going to start in a state to get the talent and go out from there. And but it's not just the talent that's going to have you an opportunity to play at Nebraska. It's going to be what your makeup is, how good a teammate you are, how hard a worker you are. When we talk to your high school coach and, the guys that see you, maybe when you think that they're not watching, what they think of your makeup, those things are all really important to us. And we make that very clear through the process.
Uncle Bruns?
Can you just kind of speak, I guess, to the arm talent that you guys added in this class and kind of what, obviously, that potential needs to meet the road on the mound, but what are you kind of starting with some of those guys? It seems like a pretty impressive class there.
Yeah, it's a combination of things. You've seen some guys in our program that have gotten better in the 12 months that we've had them. Fortunately, a lot of them were able to go off and play summer ball. That was really important for us with missing most of the spring. But we've had some guys that have made some moves in our program, velocity-wise, stuff-wise, secondary pitch-wise, mentality, quite honestly. Just kind of that you got to get over maybe getting hit if you throw the ball over the plate. But you got to throw the ball over the plate to give yourself a chance. So I think that's where it starts. Quite honestly, is guys in our program getting better and that development piece of it, which is so huge. And bringing in some experienced guys that have pitched in junior college, guys that have, with Chance Roach, guy that, has been an All-American at probably the toughest place to pitch in the country in Las Cruces, New Mexico. He brings kind of a steady hand to our pitching staff and a lot of experience that our guys have leaned on. So we wanted to bring in that experience because we felt like that was going to help bridge the gap between some of those young guys that needed to come on and get some experience for themselves. So, adding some left-handed depth, some right-handed depth, I think just seeing the velocity in the fall it's not everything. Obviously, like I said, you got to throw strikes, but just seeing more guys that can consistently throw the ball low 90s, mid 90s. That's what the real teams look like at times.
All right, just to clarify, referring to Christo Hood, some of those guys that you signed in this class, and maybe where you're starting at with them. I mean, it seems like that group, is pretty talented, I guess, to start with, and kind of to get to work with there too.
Yeah. So the guys that we're bringing in, all the guys on the mound. I mean, we've done a really good job, I feel like, of really honing in on the right-handed power arms. We got some lefties with some pitchability. I think, Brockett is a guy that not a lot of people talk about, but he's known how to pitch for a long time, and the stuff continues to come. Chandler Benson's another guy that the velocity is not quite there yet, but he's a guy that we feel like has got a really high ceiling. And that you throw in some guys that have the power stuff. Christo, we feel like, has got a chance to be a potential weekend type guy. And, Hood, again, he's the sky's the limit with him. He just started pitching, and he's come a long way in a short amount of time. And, he's a multi-sport athlete, and, those guys tend to really take off once they get to school. So just kind of identifying those type of guys. They're going to develop in our program, as I alluded to some of the guys that are already here. And we're really excited about that crop of guys that, again, there's some untapped potential in there with a lot of them. So, we feel like there's good balance and some guys that have the right stuff.
Chris Bassett?
Well, is there a guy or two guys that when they committed to you, you're like, okay, now we're going? Was there some guys that maybe kind of kickstarted this whole thing, whether it was an in-state guy or one of the guys from out of state? Was there a guy that when you got him, you're like, all right, now we're getting somewhere with this class?
Yeah, well, we were really just trying to get the dominoes to fall, and that was what we kind of kept talking to those guys about. Max Peterson, I believe, was our first commit, and he's a kid I've known for a long time, just through his dad having played here, and just having been around him since he was young. I've known him for a long time. We offered him after we watched him play a couple times, and I think he was maybe going to go through the process. And I said, "This is where you want to be, right?" He's like, "Well, I think so." And I was like, "Well, if you say yes, then your buddies are going to start saying yes too, and you guys can build something special." So Max, we kind of had those conversations, and when he pulled the trigger, you started to see the dominoes start to fall. Brockett, Jessen, Christo came after that. In-state, Randazzo was in that crew of guys, and again, they all played together. They talk. I mean, it's way different than it was 20 years ago. I mean, these guys have an instant communication with each other that we just never had that. So it's been pretty fun to watch those guys. Really help build this class, quite honestly, with our coaching staff, and say, hey, let's all go to Nebraska together. We got a shot to maybe go elsewhere and play in different places around the country, but why not play here? This is what we've dreamt of our whole lives.
Evan?
Sorry about that. How did the pandemic affect this 2021 class? Because I know you talked about the season getting canceled in March, and that really helped you guys finish out that 2020 group. What were some of the challenges, or maybe just how did circumstances affect how this group came together?
Yeah, so we were somewhat fortunate. They had changed the rule NCAA had where you could bring the juniors in for official visits. So a lot of these guys had actually been on official visits as juniors. So the fall, they came to football games in the fall of their junior year. So especially the in-state guys, we got a lot of our commits from guys that had been on campus in the fall. Once the spring rolled around, we had a few more guys that we added. That became a bit of a challenge, but again, it wasn't unique to us. Everybody's dealing with it. Virtual tours, getting them as much information, putting them in front of, our support staff, having meetings, Zoom meetings with them. I mean, it's taken a total team effort, when it comes to the pandemic. I mean, it's not only our coaching staff, but it's people that put in a lot of hours behind the scenes, the virtual tours with our sports information, our social media group. I could go on and on. I mean, there's just been a lot of challenges that you might have at other places that Nebraska makes it a heck of a lot easier. And we've gotten some good players to commit that have never been on campus before. So, hats off to our crew for that.
Michael?
And you mentioned that you do have guys in this commits that haven't ever been to Nebraska before. Is there still a little bit of a, as a coach, you probably want to know the most about a kid you possibly can. I mean, there's still a little bit of, does it feel odd, I guess, that you still kind of have that situation that you don't, still haven't had that kid there in person?
Yeah, it's definitely odd, but what's not odd in 2020? I mean, it's the hand we've been dealt. I mean, it's different. I mean, there's guys on our current team right now that I met for the first time when they showed up to school. So that'll be the case more than likely. Maybe they get to come for Summer Bridge next summer, but it makes it different. That's why you have to really lean on your resources and your references when it comes to players, because a lot of times you're doing it via video. That can lie to you, quite honestly. Just seeing highlight videos doesn't tell the whole story. So you've got to have those conversations with people that know them well, not just as baseball players, but as young men. So that's what we've done. We've relied on those things, and Core Jackson, being a great example of that. I think he was our first pandemic commit, and it was like probably fairly similar to what a lot of Canadians recruitment's going to go like. Maybe you don't see him play in person a ton, which we actually did have a chance to see him play when he was younger last summer when we first got here. But, leaning on a resource, having that word of mouth and seeing video and just kind of going from there. So it is a little bit odd, but it's just par for the course for this year.
We'll go for one more round. Chris, I'll start with you this last round.
I'm actually good, Seamus. I don't think I have anything more for him.
Okay. Evan?
Yeah, I have one more. I know there are a couple guys in this class, Will, that scouting services and prognosticators say have a chance to go, get drafted here out of high school. I'm curious, what do you tell those guys as they're going through that process, and how do you guys as coaches kind of work through that, knowing that you might maybe have to scramble or to fill that hole at a later time? How do you go through that process?
Yeah, well, first of all, it means you're on the right guys. If you're not having a battle the draft with some players, then you're probably not on all the right guys, and so that's just part of it. That's part of the deal. The things that we talk to them about is just it's the education piece of it. It's the player development piece of it. It's the ability to play in a Power 5 conference where we have every resource available, from a nutrition, strength, academics, the baseball side of it, with the facilities and the training, the technology that we have. It's honestly what you get at a place like Nebraska. It is second to none until you get to the big leagues. You don't get that stuff necessarily in minor league baseball until you get to the higher levels. So, we feel like we can develop players at a really high level, give them a great college experience here at Nebraska, at a Power 5 institution, and a great education, and a place where you can come and you're set for life when it comes to Husker Network too. When you graduate from Nebraska, Huskers are everywhere. So those are things that we talk about through the process, and we feel like we have a lot to offer when it comes to helping them develop as players, grow them up as young men, and have them ready once it does come calling again, because the draft will, they'll be more ready.
I'll finish up with Michael Brunst.
It's kind of a random one. You're 3 months and change away from the start of your regular season. Do you have any idea what it might look like, I guess, or what's kind of being bandied about as possible options there?
No, I don't know what it's going to look like. I think basketball's still waiting to see what theirs are going to look like, and it's a couple of weeks away. So
hopefully before then. I mean, that's
yeah. So yeah, I think what we're looking at is probably a normal start date, normal end date. What it looks like in between there, I think it's going to be up to different conferences to decide. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like, quite frankly. If it's going to be majority conference play, if it's going to be some out of conference, some in conference. Not quite sure. I know they're committed to getting our guys as many games as possible, obviously, because we've missed pretty much a full season. So hopefully we can get them as many games as possible and give them the best experience possible. But I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet.